This show is produced in conjunction with Blazing Caribou Studios and Diamond Club. You can check out this and other cool podcasts in the Blazing Caribou family by heading over to blazingcariboustudios.com. If you like the show, consider becoming a Patreon and donating because BCS is funded solely by listeners like you. Special thanks to Alpha Geek Media and Diamond Club for their continued support. Thank you for listening.
Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Black Mirror Reflections. I'm your host, Kari Sims, and I'm here, as always, joined with my co-hosts, Jackie Hearn and Stacy Baldwin. How are you guys doing?
Hello, hello.
I'm doing good again.
Oh, again. Yeah, your sound's a little down there, Jackie. I don't know if you're far from the mic, but just letting you know. But good to see you guys again. Almost seems like we've done this before.
Is this 15 million merits or 30 million merits at this point?
I don't know. It's a deja vu reflection. So
I thought that was a dream.
Yeah, it was just a dream the first time we did it. We like to practice a lot, apparently. But thanks for showing up with us and people in the chat room and everything like that. We're going to give this another go and see how it works out for today. So today on Black Mirror Reflections, we discuss Season 1, Episode 2, 15 Million Merits. Black Mirror's first episode was a nail-biting piece of satire that unfolded almost like an episode of 24. While National Anthem was grim and tough to watch, Charlie Brooker's 15 Million Merits is actually frightening to contemplate. And that's exactly how a good dystopian sci-fi, yep, that's today, a good dystopian sci-fi should feel. We follow a man named Bing, but we don't even get his name until about 20 minutes in. He lives in a tiny box room where every wall is a simulation screen, and everything is paid for out of an account of merits. From toothpaste to the power to skip annoying ads, he earns the merits by riding a bike all day, cycling in circles, watching a simple animation of his me-like avatar. Today's episode has a cast of characters. Bing is played by Daniel Kaluuya from Kick-Ass 2. Abby is the female character in this plot, played by Jessica Brown Finley from Downton Abbey. Judge Hope is played by Rupert Everett from My Best Friend's Wedding. Judge Charity is played by Julia Davis from Love Actually. And Judge Wraith is played by Ashley Thomas from Cockneys vs. Zombies. So we get into this Black Mirror Reflection podcast, and the opening scene starts out as a typical day. And we kind of feel this episode, you have Bing, whose name we don't know yet, but he's laying down in his room. And Stacy, why don't you just kind of give us an opening of what's going on with this, how you're feeling, and what are we about to watch?
So, when throughout the beginning of the episode, basically, I think what they're trying to get across is the idea of lack of freedom, lack of sunlight. I think that was probably the most striking thing to me, was that there was no windows. There was no way to see outside. Everything seemed to be either underground or completely closed off from the outside world. And you were constantly followed when you were in your room, when you were in these large cells where everyone is on these bicycles. When you're in the bathroom, you are being inundated with all of this imagery from the televisions. It just became right away really depressing, and this idea of slavery, basically. So I think that was probably the most striking thing, and the most depressing thing was just the lack of sunlight.
Right. And it was kind of, I want to say that first 20 minutes, and we'll talk more about those 20 minutes, but those first 20 minutes are very mundane, very boring. It's almost like just a typical day, which is sad, because there's just not a lot going on. And it just doesn't feel real. It feels very plastic to me as I'm watching it, and just kind of like, what is about to happen here? So Jackie, we're taken into like the cycling room, and you see all these people on these, like cycling bikes, kind of like you would at a gym. Kind of talk about what we're watching and what the point is to this point in the film or in the show.
So one of the things I had, main question I had for myself was, they're pedaling on these bicycles like little hamsters, and you can see there's even a great shot of multiple layers. It almost looks like a parking garage of little hamsters on their wheels. And they're powering their bikes for something, so they're generating power somewhere, but they if we're thinking about energy as we know it now, one bicycle could not power that one monitor in front of them. So there must be some sort of like, this is a real futuristic society. They must be powering some kind of energy that we're not even aware of today. And so, then I start thinking about the rooms that they're in. They're really in these little boxes everywhere. Everything they see, they touch, they feel, the clothes they wear is very well mind control. So this whole show is about mind control and controlling their worldview. So they're not exposed to outside things. And I kind of wonder, what is outside of that? Because we see judges. What is their world like? Are they in little boxes?
So one thing that I wanted to bring up, because I like to explore the universe of shows that I watch, because I'm a giant geek, and so I like to, because of the fact that I've watched the entire series now, and I know that there are people that are watching the show along, or at least I hope there are people that are watching the show along with us, with our commentary. But one thing that you'll notice is that there is a song that gets brought up at least twice in the series. It's the song that the love interest, her name escapes me like names always do, but the dark-haired love interest,
Abby.
Yes, she sings the song for the judges, and when he first hears her, and this is a little bit skipping ahead in the episode, when he first hears her in the bathroom singing that song, she mentions, this is a song that my grandmother sang to me. Now, later on in the show, you'll notice that same song is being sung in karaoke in a further episode. So this episode is at least 2 generations ahead of current day. So we really are very far in the future. So there may be some technology there that we don't know about yet, because current technology, no, that bicycle wouldn't even power the monitor that they're watching. But there may be some additional technology.
Well, you say that, but there's this thing going on right now, and I cannot remember what country it is, but it's if you have like people going for 24 hours, you can basically power your house on one of these bikes right now. So this is something new that's coming out. So you say that, but maybe it's not that too near in the future. Maybe something to look up and Google, because I cannot remember where I saw that, but it was really interesting. I'm like, man, talk about worrying about weight loss in the world. It's like, oh, you guys want to play video games? Go hit the bike for an hour, and then we can let you use the video game thing. But I don't know.
Oh my God.
That's too. Even the healthy food that is on the show is it seems to be some sort of chemically engineered type food, probably for calorie content, because these people are biking literally from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep.
Right.
So where are they getting this energy from? So the food that they have to eat, it has to be high calorie. It has to be.
Right. Well, so we're in there, and we're kind of seeing that like all these guys are kind of watching like different TV shows, and that's kind of what their entertainment is when you go to a gym, you usually have like a TV in front of you or something, or you're listening to your headphones. They have the same kind of idea where they have the TV in front of them. Some people are watching like game shows. Some people are watching just like a almost like a Wii, like just kind of like watching them like kind of running themselves through like a field or down the street. And some are watching a show called Hot Shots, right? And I think Jackie's got her little hot shot thing. But they're
And I think
watching.
it's also worth noting, it's not just entertainment for them. That is
Right.
their world. That's
That's it.
probably more real than the real world.
Right. And that's
for
all
them.
they have right now
Yeah.
is just to watch these things. And in there, you also start to see, I mean, it's a kind of like a teaser, but it's a small glimpse of the X Factor type show with the 3 judges. You also see like some fat shaming type of shows. You see some porn, and those types of things. And it's odd. So, it all of a sudden just kind of cuts to the lunchroom. It's lunchtime. So he heads back to his dorm and he starts to play some video games and stuff like that. And he's, you can tell he's encapsulated in this room with only simulation videos. And, there's some revealings going on here. Stacy, you want to take them through that a little bit of what we're starting to see?
So basically, he's in his room and he is watching a commercial for Hot Shots. And we see the first glimpse of the credit system which is basically their money. And so we see that he has a lot of credits. Now we don't really know what these credits are worth, but for how much skipping through a commercial costs, because you do have to skip through commercial. You have to pay to skip through commercials.
It's like YouTube.
He has a lot of money. And so that is a little bit of foreshadowing as to how he gained that money a little bit later on. But we can see that that you are forced to view this content. Otherwise, you need to pay to not view it.
Right. Now, what happens? Like he sees like some stuff and he just doesn't want to see it. He's like, he kind of turns his head. And
Yep.
what happens? So
then the entire room turns bright red.
Right.
And we hear like this, it's like this alarm. And it says something along the lines of, please continue viewing. Please continue viewing. And it's the most annoying. And you can't continue to listen to that.
You can't look away. Yeah.
You're not allowed to close your eyes. You're not allowed to look away. You have
unless
to
you pay for
watching. Yep.
Right. Unless you pay for it. So
Awful.
So then, it kind of cuts to, the morning again. So this boring, mundane existence, we're taken from his dorm to, this cycling room to eating and then back to his dorm again. And, you wake up the next day and he's in the elevator heading down. And that's where we first meet Abby. And, you kind of see a little smile on his face, like something's changing. Jackie, what do you think's happening here?
Well, I guess he kind of, we're talking about the bathroom scene, right? Where he...
Well, yep, this is where he meets the girl. So
she's singing in the bathroom, and I guess he kind of falls for her in a way, but without even seeing her first, because he hears this beautiful voice. And it's something different. It's not on the screen. And I can understand kind of falling for someone like that in that moment where you're trapped with no everything is absolutely 100% mind control. And so they talk. And one of the other things that just because I want to go along the level of the mind control thing is that they talk a bit, and she tells him, well, I was just singing so you wouldn't hear me pee. And then, of course, the porn comes up on the screen, and he's embarrassed.
So
trying to, because he's just trying to have this moment. And it's almost as if they're watching everything that they do, and they know when to pop this stuff up.
And another thing worth mentioning is that there really isn't any social interaction between these people. They are with each other and next to each other all day, every single day, and they really don't interact.
Right.
So the social skills are non-existent.
Absolutely.
And for a reason, because they don't talk to each other, because they're all in this digital world.
And the other point I was going to make is that they're not allowed to own anything or have anything. So she makes him out of the Apple container a little pigwin, Garni,
Origami.
Origami. I'm sorry, I can't talk right now. Of course, because I'm on a podcast. Why would I talk? So she makes him that and the pigwin, and he keeps it, and he's supposed to hide it so he can hang on to it as long as he can. But apparently they go through their stuff, so he has to really hide it. And so, like, it's sentimental value. And at one point he puts it on his bike in one of the lemons, I guess they're called. We don't really know what they're called, but they're the lower class people who clean. They comes by and takes it away. So they're not even allowed. The mind control goes as far as sentimental value of the penguin. But one thing that she can hold on to is she's carrying on the song that she remembers from her grandmother, and you can't control that sentimental value because everybody has nostalgia when it comes to music.
Right.
So that's where I think that they're able to kind of bend the mold and expect that, wow, we can get out of this. We can go somewhere else. We can leave this hamster world and enter that other society.
Right. And I think it's worth noting at this point, this is the first real like moment you have in the whole show where you start to feel that like, hey, love can blossom, Bing is, very attracted to this woman, that there could be some normalcy within this simulated type of a world. And he goes out, and the name of the show is 15 Million Merits, which is pretty much what Bing has in money. And you find out that he was left that by his brother who had passed away. And he, this is what's weird, to me, is like within 5-6 minutes, he loves her voice. He just offers her a chance to go on Hot Shots. Now, Stacy, why is Hot Shots so important and to this? And also, he mentions that it's about 12 million merits to do that. So,
yeah,
that's a lot of money that he's going to be giving to like a complete stranger.
Yes.
And why?
And I think you kind of hit it on the head a little bit earlier in that it's the first real thing that he has felt, has experienced, probably in years, his whole life maybe. And with his brother passing, I think he came to the realization that this digital world, this meaningless existence is just that. It's just meaningless. And here's something beautiful, and here's something real, here's something that makes me feel something, anything. And that is worth countless amounts of money.
Money, you can't put a price on that.
Right.
You can't put a price on happiness is pretty much
exactly.
What
would he spend it on anyway? He would spend it on, fake things for his little me avatar. He would spend it on, food or skipping commercials or, there's nothing of value in that whole world. So I think that that's the reason why he decided to give it to her, which I completely understand, and serves to the point that this is just a very, very sad world. Right. And then as far as the 12 million merits, so he thinks that it's going to be 12 million merits. Now he has about 15 million and change. And so it would leave him something to live on.
Sure.
By the way, and Chad Beatmaster says, I love how it deceives you into thinking that it will be an obvious love story. Then again, you get reminded that what show you're really watching. Very on point. This is Black Mirror.
Right.
It's never what you expect, ever. And so, so we see that, so she finally reluctantly agrees to accept the gift. And so he's all happy, he's all smiles. He goes back to his room, he goes and he flips through, and he's going through to purchase the ticket for her to go onto Hot Shots, and we see that it's not 12 million merits, that it's actually 15 million, which will basically leave him poor.
Right.
And so he thinks about it for maybe half a second, and then he buys it.
Yep.
Not a second thought.
Yep.
And then he sends it to her, and then she sends him a little with her little avatar. And for those audio listeners, I just blew a kiss at the camera. That's what she said to him
That was cute.
with her little avatar. And yeah, so it was a nice little exchange, and it was an honest, heartfelt exchange. And it was one of the few things that we see in the show that is honest.
Right. You know, it's kind of like the old adage, rich and miserable or poor and happy kind of a thing. And I mean, I think a lot of people would choose the poor and happy kind of a feeling. And so, yeah, he's just like, it's just money. I can earn more. It's not that big of a deal. So he's definitely reaching for this. So Jackie, he heads down the next day holding hands and, hand in hand with Abby in the elevator. And they come into this room. And if you can kind of describe to everybody what this is like, or a comparison to, or if you can explain what happens next in this scene.
Sure. We basically enter this crazy world. It's sort of it's like an American Idol or one of those shows. I know there's numerous. I don't catch them, so I can't list them all. But it's kind of like a reality show, a contest where you come and you sing before 3 judges. One is very Simon Cowell type of person. I think he's played by Rupert Everett. And and then in the background, you almost for a moment, you kind of get the sense that there is an audience back there, but there's nothing but a wall of monitors that is displaying all of the avatars. So even when people feel, and what I love about this is they have this crowd mentality that they use to control your mind. And
all about mind
down
control.
to the point where they don't even allow you to be an individual human being, so you can express your real, actual body language. And they're faking the body language as to, and you can see these people, they flashed towards or they cut into the individuals in their own little individual boxes, and so obviously a camera's watching their response. And you got the pervert guy like cheering, at inappropriate times, and the one girl who liked the other guy kind of just go, she's not that great. And so it's a very weird way. Again, it's everything that these people are exposed to is complete mind control, down to the point where they make her drink a cup of compliance. It's spelled CUPPLIANC. So it's not compliance like the word, but it's compliance. You have to drink the compliance before you go on stage, because we don't want you to do anything crazy, like put a shard up to your face. But that's jumping forward.
And when they give it to her, they basically sell it as like a good thing, like, because it's this drug that makes you feel good, and you can't get this anywhere else.
Right. And it
So
helps you
enjoy
relax,
Take
get
it
rid
when-
of your
while you get it.
nerves and all those types of things. So you'll do a good job in front of the judges.
Smoke a joint before you go on. You'll be fine.
Right. So you've got these judges out there, and like she said, they're kind of like, Simon Cowell and Paula Abdul. And you've got the Judge Wraith, who is a pig, basically. And Stacy, I remember this from last time. You kind of like touch base on Judge Wraith a little bit. You want to bring that back into the conversation?
Yeah, well, it's completely, from the moment that she steps out, they are judging her like a piece of meat. There's no respect for women at all. Even with the female judge is there's no respect for her as a human being at all. The first thing that they say, I think, when she comes out is, "I'd hit that," or something like that. I want to see those titties. It wasn't even as
Tits or
respectful as, "I hit that."
GTFO.
Yeah.
It was, "I want to see those titties."
Yeah.
So it was awful, and you immediately felt bad for the female judge. Seemed to have at least a little bit of sympathy, but kind of covered it up, and
I felt that too. Definitely.
Yeah,
like I think we kind of touched base on the fact that it's like, we don't know what this slave community was, or how they got there, or why they're here. But this was kind of a glimpse of the fact that we started to realize, like, hey, this was a way to get out of being a slave, of being, you know, a cyclist forever. And you never know, like, is that what the judges did? Did the judges have to go through something like this? Did they drink the Kool-Aid? Did they do all that kind of stuff too? And then they got lifted up and put on as judges to judge new people. It could be this like crazy, literally like this cycle, you know, of people just kind of in this constant thing where it's like you really never get out of it, that everybody is in this society and kind of a slave to everything. Because who's the judge's bosses? You know, why are they doing it? It doesn't, you know, it kind of brings up those questions and everything like that. So, so, you know, Bing is kind of watching from the sidelines, and, you know, I think it's Judge Hope, who is Rupert Everett's character. And he comes out and he just, after she sings this song, she has a beautiful voice, and it is the song, like Jackie said, of her grandmother. He says it was really lovely. It was beautiful. It was one of the best he's ever heard. But then he says it's just not the best in the world. It's good. And he kind of starts to demean her. And
we're just too filled with we're too full up on singers right now. There's no room for singers.
Right.
And you're not good enough.
Right.
To
be out. You're nothing special. You're nothing like this last one that we had, you know. And so it's almost like you start to feel them putting pressure on them. And Jackie, what do you think, or if you explain this next part of what's going on, especially like with the crowd and all that good stuff?
Sure. I guess they're basically that crowd mentality, and one of them they I guess it becomes a thing on their show where they when they give you an offer, the crowd goes, do it, and you know, when you've got that, there's a lot of pressure on one person when you've got a huge crowd in front of you telling you to do it, but they're not even really there. Which is the messed up thing, and you keep thinking about that, like when you look at this, watch this. This is where this is where Black Mirror becomes so scary, because you're really understanding they're putting a spotlight on this, that this is what happens in normal crowds, and you know, you have to keep this in mind. So they're telling her to do it. So they're telling her, and she's drank the cup of compliance.
So she's drugged.
She can't say no.
She's drugged, right?
So she's going to do it. And then, you know, you guys, both of you mentioned the judges and the female judge. She almost, or Stacy, you were saying, she almost seemed to kind of care in a way, and she cries a little tear.
Yeah.
But you know, you kind of think she's drinking the compliance. They're all drinking the compliance. I think even Judge Hope, the Simon Cowell version, Rupert Everett.
I think
he's drinking it. I think that they are slaves. I think they go back to a world where they're in a box of their own.
Right. And so they convince her though to like go through with like doing like erotica videos and going to work for Judge Wraith. And that's what's crazy about this. And she reluctantly says, you know, oh God, I suppose I'll do it. And we get to this point where I think you kind of sink in your chair a little bit like, oh no, because you're like, you wanted this love story to happen between Bing and Abby, and you know that something's going to change. And Bing is just absolutely broken at this point. And we go and it cuts to the next scene where, you know, he's upset. You can tell, and he's just kind of like, he's broke, literally broke, not just broken as a man, but literally broke monetarily. And he's laying on his bed, and Stacy, what happens? And this is a very pivotal point in the show.
So it's a very intense scene, and you know, he's watching TV, and it comes to a point where a porn commercial pops up, and lo and behold, now he tries to skip it before he even knows who's on it, and he can't because he doesn't have any money. And so he's forced to watch it. And lo and behold, it is Abby, her debut. And he immediately starts pacing. He acts and feels exactly how you would expect him to feel. There's no other way to describe, what he was angry.
Someone that you're in love with, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you just see them
And that
like doing
creep-
the worst possible thing that you could possibly
And
think
essentially
of.
being
Not-
raped, because keep in mind,
Yeah.
she's drugged.
Right.
So he's watching her being raped.
Yeah.
That's
basically
awful.
Mhm.
And
the creep next to you on the bike, he's
Yep.
watching it.
yep.
Uh-huh. Yep. The creepy guy next to you is definitely
So it's
watching.
in your visual.
Mm-hmm.
And
Everybody
so he
everybody
just-
can watch it or has a
everybody can
choice
see
to.
it. Everybody can see it. She's being humiliated. She's being raped, and just for everyone's entertainment. And so he flips out. He
Mhm.
flips the fuck out, and he starts body slamming the television monitor
Right.
on the one wall, and over and over and over again, until finally it breaks.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut to a scene of the broken glass, and there's one that is a perfect shard.
Mhm.
That is a perfect triangle that he can, or not triangle, but a stabbing implement.
Yeah, like it's a shard. It's like a
It's a shard.
it's
Yeah.
a shard. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we go on to the next scene.
Well, it just sucks, I think, in that scene too, is that, he's trying to close his eyes and he can't get away from it. And he really doesn't have the money at this point now
Yeah.
not to watch it.
Yep.
And that's like one of the points of that foreshadowing in the back, where he's like, just let it go, before now he's like, holy shit, I have no money. I'm forced to watch it. And I think that's what puts him over the edge. And he
Yes.
starts body slamming. He's like, I can't take it. I mean, could you? I mean, is the question.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
No,
know-
absolutely not. It's like having your girlfriend become a porn star, and
right.
I don't understand how. And I actually I've watched a lot of documentaries on the porn industry from different things, like Weird Things with Louis Theroux, and that is a big deal, that their relationships break down. Like you cannot be a part of it or watch it, and that's like actually a thing for Hollywood actors. Like, when they have to do a love scene with someone.
Right.
It's, could you imagine it having it, like, at least for them, they can turn away. They cannot
It
go
would
see the
take
film.
an incredibly strong,
Yeah.
ridiculous person that just can disconnect themselves. And
Absolutely.
I don't think necessarily that human nature can necessarily do that. I think you can tell yourself, but
Yeah,
I don't think you can necessarily do it. There's
you
always
can't
going to
be
be a
of
part of
sound
affection.
mind and accept the person that you love the most, that
Right. Like you have to tell
cherish and
yourself
you're in
different.
the world with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For-
And also with the added complication of, he knows that she's being drugged, and
Right.
that this really isn't her will, that she's,
Right.
so it's,
well, then you start to see at this point, he hides that shard of glass and you see his mind kind of start.
And the cup of compliance.
Yeah, oh yes, and
Yep.
good point. He had picked that up prior to when he had seen her agree on stage that she was going to go ahead and do the erotica. So he picked that up and just kind of folded it and hid that as well. And so it's almost like a switch is flipped, and he just starts running into the cycling room and just like a madman starts cycling. And cycling. And I think I've done that too. Like when I've broken up with somebody, like I've like exercised like
Yes.
mad,
Oh yeah.
where I'm just like, oh my God, just forget it. I lost like 100 pounds or something crazy like that. Just breaking up
when
with people.
I was trying to train for a half Olympics a couple years ago, believe it or not. I don't think I could do it today, but I was training, and as I was trying to get that extra energy, I was going, oh, you, so-and-so, my ex-boyfriend, ooh, you.
yep.
Yeah.
And it gave me that little, because you just need to push yourself a little through that. So yeah, sorry.
Right.
I
No,
I
that's
shouldn't
okay.
have had that personal experience. Nobody cares.
No, it's everybody.
I listen to DMX when I work out. Also, nobody cares.
Well, something we kind of failed to mention when he was in the lunchroom back when he was meeting Abby for the first time or whatever, he kind of used that trick that the girl that originally had shown him how to get the food out of the vending machine for free after it had been stuck. He used that on Abby, and then we forward that a little bit forward now, and now, like I said, he's got no money. He's bicycling like an idiot, just like going nuts, and he is spending zero money on, he's watching every commercial that he possibly can. All the money that he has for food and stuff, he's using that trick. So what happens?
And
He's
scavenging.
Right. And then he starts to teach him this little dance, right, Jackie? This little dance he starts doing. You start to
that was adorable.
Well, yeah, they're kind of like flashing.
And he was doing good. Like, I kind of went.
It was kind of stupid at first. I was like,
yeah, at first it was a little dorky.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but I
mean,
think
you
it's
should see me
supposed to-
dance, and then
Yeah,
then you judge who is dorky.
right. But it was dorky to start. I think that's the point, is to show that he's progressing, and he's kind of like, he's like, and then you're just like, all of a sudden he's like, pow, get it down.
Yes. I'm actually surprised though that the judges were like, okay, all right, they were getting into it, and they didn't boo him off or
wait, you're getting ahead of us. So what is he saving this money for?
So that he can get on the show. He wants to get on the show, and he wants to be on the show for something. And he's waiting for that stamp to come off his hand. He keeps watching it every day. It takes 2 months. So we know
that's a time marker.
Yeah.
So we can see how much time, because they said when he was getting his hand stamped, they said that it would last for a month, right? I think it was a month.
I thought.
2 months.
Or 2 months. Was it 2 months?
None of us know. Okay.
I do know it's 2
anyway,
months.
it was a time marker.
Yeah.
And
it was still there, so he's done this all in like 5 weeks maybe, and it's still there, which is like, it took his brother like years to make that money before. It took him years before, like he did this all within a couple of, within 5 weeks.
And there's that sick scene where he takes that glass and he's almost trying to shave it off of his, skin too. So he's really trying to beat the time, but yeah.
Right, exactly. So he buys the ticket, right, Stacy, and he checks in, and we see this usual scene of the whole like American Idol type of practicing la 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 la, and everybody's singing and doing their thing, and he's kind of the first to arrive, and he just stands there, doesn't move, and it's almost like, it's a really cool scene. I like it. People are moving around him. It's kind of almost like film noir a little bit, just kind of a thing, and they call on him, and take us through this next part.
So he's in the waiting room again, and one thing that we skipped over when they were in the waiting room before, they have a very the word that I'm trying to think of, shallow, a very shallow way of picking the contestants.
Yeah.
The first time when they picked Abby, it was the pretty one. And then when they go to pick him, they needed an ethnic one, and he's black. Right. So they go up to him and they go, "Hey, we're going to use you." As 3 seconds after he walked in the door, and so they go in, and he pulls out the empty bottle of compliance out of his pants, and he
that's
shows
where
it to
all
the girl.
compliances are in their pants. Okay, I'm sorry. Just go ahead.
That's what she said.
Right.
So he pulls out the compliance, and then they walk into he shows it to the girl. He's like, "Oh, you already had one. Great." Walks on stage. And he says to the judges, so the judges ask him, "Well, what are you going to be performing?" And he goes, "I'm going to do a type of entertainment," or something like that.
A sort of performance. Yeah.
A sort of performance. So they're intrigued, and then so the music starts, and he starts dancing, and it's actually fairly good. And so he's dancing and gets a little bit through the song, and then all of a sudden the music stops, and he pulls out the shard of glass and holds it against his throat. And then record screech, and everybody stops, and they ask him, "Well, you obviously want to say something. What do you want to say?" And his response is, "I don't know what I wanted to say. I just want to fucking get up here and say something to you."
Right. Yeah. You didn't think he would make it that far.
Right.
Yeah.
Thought he'd get kicked off or something, or they would think it was a sham or something. Yep. And he got to that point, and he loses his shit on them. Right.
Yep. Yep. And it's a great speech. It's probably one of my favorite parts of the show. He just goes on and on about how everything, and exactly what we've been saying this whole time. He wakes up. He's the only one in this world that has woken up to the fact that everything in this world is fake. Everything is digital. Everything that you buy, that you, you know, that you interact with. You don't even interact with people anymore. You don't, they are, their money isn't real. Their food isn't real. Nothing is real in this world.
Right.
And so he goes on to this great speech. And I don't know if you want me to get to the end with the judges, what their response was, but basically the judge's response was, "Oh, well, that was such a great performance."
Because you do see some of the me's, the avatars, their faces just kind of like stop for a second because they're sitting there in their rooms in those little boxes, and they're real people, but what we see is their avatars being displayed, and you see their emotions start to go, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, this is like, you could start to see them having emotion. And quickly, like you said, Jackie, the judges just flip it around as quickly as possible, take his heartfelt speech that he had, that he was, he was just like, fuck you for taking my reality, fuck you for taking anything I could ever love type of a thing. And they just, boom, just turn it right back around into some type of a gimmick. Everybody just kind of like looks around at each other and is just like, yeah, kind of a thing. Just goes right back into that mindset. Do it. Yep. Exactly. And all of a sudden, it's just, it's just like, it's almost like you feel like you did at the beginning of the show, where you were all excited. Yeah, you just kind of like, your shoulders drop a little bit and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Yep.
So what happens, and we go back, in the conclusion of this show, where, you see some of the cyclers, and, and this is before we get to Bing. This is just some of the cyclers in the room. What do you see there?
Oh, actually, I don't know if you guys were watching or saw what I saw, but I saw, the girl that seemed to like Bing. Is it Bing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
I keep getting his name wrong.
It's Bing.
Sorry.
Yep.
She is on her bike, and she has now switched to what, the girl is now switched to what Bing, was watching, which was basically the road. And it seemed like the road was the one generic, you're just pedaling and you're riding. Mm-hmm. And you can see she's kind of lost it too, because now he's gone and she's stuck in this world with that creepo who is watching all of the porn.
We didn't discuss him very much. Can we go back up a little bit and discuss? Yeah, the pig. I like to call him the pig, because he is. That's exactly what he is.
He has a name in the show.
Yeah, there was this centralized character through this whole thing, and he was just kind of peppered in, and what he was essentially was the quintessential person that they are placating to. He
drank the Kool-Aid.
He drank the Kool-Aid. This is what they want.
110%.
Every single person who's riding that bike to be like, and laughing at the fat people, and just the one that's starting the crowd to do it. They need those aggressors in there, and he's kind of peppered out throughout the show. And he has a nice little reprisal at the end here, right, Stacy?
Yeah. So they get to the point where, sorry, we can cut this out. I lost where we were. I'm sorry. Where are we at now?
Cycling room down here.
Oh.
Beep, 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 beep. I think we're over here. But we're bringing up that centralized.
Okay, you guys are looking at a doc. I mean, now that we have to cut this, it's fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
Where we were.
I help Stacy. I kind of like flick on and I go, we're right about here.
I'm looking at Chad. I'm looking at all the other
No,
stuff I
it's
was
fine. It's
But
fine.
you
It's
just
fine.
you bring this guy back and you see him just
Yeah,
I mean, face-
just talk about the jerk, and then and
Yeah.
also we didn't talk about the lemons, but we don't have to. I know we
Mhm.
need to wrap this up, but you guys, if you want to do that,
Okay.
because like my question was, what kind of world do the lemons have? What box do they go to?
right.
You know,
Well, and that's
but maybe that's
Talking
something to
about
talk about after we talk about the end of, where everybody goes when they succeed on Hot Shots. But
right.
I'll let you guys prompt that.
So we were
Okay.
basically discussing Stacy.
I'm doing this
Oh
for
wait,
visuals.
ready,
So,
ready.
yep, yeah.
Right.
Like if I do this, I can see it when I'm editing. All right. Okay,
So
good.
basically, we're left with this guy who's kind of peppered in, and you see him, watching the shaming shows and things like that. And you see a couple of these guys watching some of the other programs, and one of the other programs, correct, Stacy, is a voiceover, and you hear Bing's voice. And what do you hear from Bing?
So it's basically, now it looks like he is in his little box in his room, and he's just doing a rant, and he has the shard up against his neck, and he's just talking about the world and talking about how bullshit it is. And then his show cuts, and we pan out away from his little box, and he's not in his room. That is a set that he's filming his show on, and he's actually in the same room, a white room, that the winner of Hot Shots prior was staying in, and also the room that Abby filmed her porn in.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a whole new box,
Yep.
except it's a little bit bigger. It's all white now instead of all black, and they have a screen to the outside. And what's a little bit suspicious to me is it looks a little too perfect. It looks a little bit too it's these floor to ceiling windows.
Mm-hmm.
What's to say that that is not the new screen?
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say that that's
Like you
actually
said,
outside?
the bigger box.
It's just a bigger box. It's just a
Right.
bigger box with orange juice.
I
And
do
that's
like
it.
I do like, and I did put this in our notes because I really found this a cool little quote that he said with when he's got that knife or the shard up against his neck, and he's ready to he's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to cut myself. But the only thing stopping me from slashing my throat right now is that I might not die right away. And before I had died, they'd find a way to charge my twitching, half-dead cadaver 20,000 merits for having to swab all the walls clean. And that is so funny because, I mean, it kind of just, sums up the whole idea is like, how ridiculous is it? Not only are they, like Jackie says, they drank the Kool-Aid, they're in this mind control type of a thing, but they're the ones powering what? We don't know, but
Yep.
they got to pay for it too. Like they
Yep.
have to pay to just exist in their slavery. I mean, can you imagine? And I mean, let's go back to like, the pyramids or slavery or something like that. Going to a black person during slavery and saying, hey, thanks for picking all this cotton. By the way, you owe us $50 for
They did
walking
do
in
that.
our fields.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, that
I
was
mean, it's just
sharecropping.
crazy.
Sharecropping became the worst. Like that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing about slavery. I did get my degree in history.
Yay.
And like that is definitely one of the things that like irks me is that people think that slavery ended after the Civil War.
No,
It
absolutely
didn't.
not.
Slavery didn't end. It still hasn't ended, actually. But I mean, but if you want to really think about it, all of those communities, what they were told is that you can work our lands and then you pay us.
Yep.
And
Right.
you need to pay our bank, and so now you owe us. Now you're an indentured slave.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry,
That's
sorry,
exactly what
off the
happened.
off the scale rant.
No, that's cool.
Yes.
And I think it's important to bring stuff,
Yeah.
stuff like that to, shows like this because,
Sharecropping with slavery.
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
it brings it to the real world because history does repeat itself
Mhm.
over and over again. And
Right.
so it makes it a little bit more real that, if we did have all this future technology, what would we do with it?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't necessarily make
Well,
the
look
world
what we're
a better
doing with it
place.
now. It doesn't necessarily
Exactly.
make it better. I mean,
Nope.
we could talk about the election, but that's a different show. I'm just saying. Because, I mean, seriously.
Should I put the
Yeah.
little Trump pieces back up? I'm kidding.
No, I mean, but seriously, I mean, you could talk about that and you could talk about how historically things just keep coming back up. I mean, we had a Berlin Wall, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's just, it's amazing that, in this, day and age that, you're, like you had said from the beginning, Stacey, that this was just, years into the future, and that just doing it over again, just
Yep.
repeating
Over and
it.
over again, history repeating itself, and human nature, and it makes you wonder who's in control of all of this. Who's the 1% in
Mhm.
this world?
Well,
Because
that
I
is
know.
a good point to make, and maybe even end it on, is just where
Absolutely.
were the overlords, I guess you want to say, of
And-
this whole episode.
are they
And-
even human?
And
Right.
Is it? Are
Right.
have the computers completely taken over?
Yes, exactly.
Is it people? Is
Is it this power source that they have to peddle as hamsters?
right? Like
Are
you
we
said,
all
is
just
it
little
the
animals?
1%? Is it, like historically speaking, the wealthy, taking advantage of the poor and the, disadvantaged type of thing?
Yep. There's been a lot
So-
of studies that we're moving back towards a peasant society. Like,
Yeah.
The higher end, the wealthiest people are becoming so huge, and we're becoming so small again. And that's what takes you back to a peasant culture.
Yeah.
And so I would wonder, did you guys, my question to you both, you can answer if you want, is did you guys think of this your first viewing, or as you started to analyze it for the show? Because I don't know that I necessarily thought of what's going on outside the box until
Yeah.
I watched it a second time.
I didn't put it all together, but I immediately thought slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I immediately noticed the boxes within the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
That there was the
Okay.
black boxes, and then the white boxes
Mm-hmm.
were the upgrade boxes, I guess.
Mhm.
But I don't think that I, until just now, put together the whole aspect of, history repeating itself, and how this slavery could possibly be, our future technology, because I'm more of an optimist when it comes to technology generally in my actual
Sure.
life.
Good for you.
But
Mhm.
there's always a possibility of things going awry, and this is the quintessential situation. And when I first watched this episode, Jackie, I had to step away, and I texted you because I was
Mhm.
physically depressed
Mhm.
from this episode.
I remember. It was when I was saying, hey,
Oh,
should we
but
do
there's
it though?
more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
but there's
oh no,
more.
wait till you get to the bear.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Hey,
so,
no
yeah.
spoilers until we can spoil the
No,
whole
I'm
thing.
not spoiling anything. I'm just saying they're all just so. All of them are
They're-
sad.
Well, and that's why the
They're
show
They're like a
is
bittersweet
so great.
sadness to the.
That's
Black
why
Bear.
it's such a great show,
Yes.
because
It's-
it just really
It's
is
a new
a
Twilight Zone, because
yeah. Oh, because history
Twilight
is repeating
Zone fucks with your
itself.
head too. Yeah.
Yep.
So you walk away from this episode just going, fuck, and it could really happen. It could. There's a possibility that the robots could take over, and that we could be all in a slave society. It's really depressing to think about, and we should probably put in provisions now to prevent shit like that from happening. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, and Beatmaster up in the chat room is talking about the episode relies on the lead actor's performance, and he kicked ass. He was literally
Oh.
in.
Oh
That-
yeah, absolutely.
But
I'm
yeah,
gonna see everything
he
this
was
actor's
phenomenal.
done.
Yeah, he was phenomenal. He did a great job, and he was just, I don't know if you guys do this, and I'll kind of leave off on this, but I have a tendency to watch this show with captions on. I feel, and I might, and I'm going to recommend it to some people that maybe Not because I'm kind of like a soft TV listener, so I don't like to have TV like blaring, but I feel that sometimes when I'm watching a show that I can read something that maybe I didn't pick up on, and it kind of like helps me, digest the episode a little bit more. And I did pick up a couple little things, like little words spoken in the corners and stuff that you normally wouldn't hear.
Yes.
Without
When you
having
do a
cast
fan
it up.
cast, you absolutely have to, at least on your second viewing. The first
Yeah.
first time around, don't.
Viewing, just do it
Yes,
normally.
digest it. Yes.
Just go ahead and watch Joffrey die. It's fine, but it's so awesome when Joffrey
Spoilers.
dies.
Spoilers.
But the next time,
For the wrong show, but
Yeah,
okay.
I know. It's
No,
just
no, nobody cares.
nobody cares.
It's
They
fine.
don't know. They might think
No,
Joffrey.
the whole.
So,
come on.
Wouldn't that be
We
awesome
didn't
if it
mention
was?
Just don't say the name of the show. We're good.
I know.
Okay.
Ever. So, well, having said that, we'd like to thank everybody that's in the chat room right now. Beatmaster, thank you so much for following us along and helping us out get our shit together through this episode. It's all we have for you now, but Jackie, can you tell Black Mirror lovers how to get a hold of you from now on?
Absolutely. You can follow me at JackieHearn81 on Twitter. Pretty easy. And there, actually, if there was one thing I would encourage you to do, to please follow me on YouTube, youtube.com/JackieHearn, because right now I've got a little promo video that's very creepy, and it has to do with putting the old socks away, buying a new fresh package, and I'm doing some claymation, and that stuff is going to launch immediately. And so I'm very excited about that. So you can find all of that just by going to JackieHearn.com or follow me on Twitter. I'm there up in the middle of the night, whether you like it or not, tweeting about like late 90s music and having a few drinks, and I should shut up. And every morning I wake up, I look at my Twitter, I'm like, oh God, I gotta open up Twitter.
What did I do?
What did I do?
What did I do? And oh my God, it's recorded.
So if you want to catch all of that, catch me early in the morning before I wake up and I start deleting tweets. Stacy, how about you?
I, however, am much more boring. But I am always on Twitter. You can always hit me up. My at is at StacyB23. So that's StacyBee 23. And I'm always on there, and you can always find me on there. I am working on getting a website and other social media. I'm awful at social media, which I should probably get better at since I'm podcasting and stuff. That's probably a requirement. I should probably get on that. But so Kari, where can we find you?
Well, you can find me all over the place. Definitely you can hit us up at blazingcariboustudios.com and check out our Patreon there. You can hit me up personally on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Blinken Park. And it's BLINK 3 and the number N Park. Or you can just kind of reach me at Kari Sims and every place else.
All right, lady, I'm going to make you talk a little bit about Blazing Caribou Studios, because you guys, how many shows do you have? There's so many, and I'm going to go back to the website.
Well, the
website is beautiful, by the way.
No, thank you. Yeah, we're getting
Great
it put
job.
up and getting it together, and you should be able to find a lot of shows on there. We've got, by the end of this summer, we should have about 15 shows in production. Black Mirror is one of them. We have Trivia Geeks, for those who might recognize me from there. We have a new show coming out called Geek Cinema Society.
Hey, I was on that last night.
Yes, you were. And they're banking some shows before they release that. We have Real Retrospective coming out as well, along with, oh my God, just a myriad of other shows. I'd app that and so on and so forth. So yeah, if you really want to check out what we're doing and where we're headed, just go ahead and hit blazingcariboustudios.com and check us out. You'll find Stacy's face there and Jackie's face there.
Yeah, my face is
Some nice little things.
My face is in too many places. That's why I want to replace it with a sock puppet. But you also you have a Patreon.
Yes, we do have a Patreon, and you can reach that again at patreon.com/blazingcariboustudios.com. And any dollar, anything will help right now as we're getting started in this crazy venture of ours. But we have really good high hopes. We have a lot of great people working for us and helping us put this all together. So we're super, super excited. So yeah, definitely.
And speaking of Patreons, I just want to give a quick shout out to Sergeant Muffin, who provides the Diamond Club TV that you see us live on when we record. And you can watch all of the audio problems that Jackie has.
Yay!
Live as it happens. No.
We will get it together. It will be good.
You're missing
We
all-
love you,
you're
Sergeant Muffin.
Yeah, you're missing all the F-bombs when
Yeah.
I go, can you hear me? Can you hear me? No, I'm kidding. And then also, of course, I want to mention T2T2 has a Patreon. We're using his chat. Thank you so much, T2T2,
thank
for
you,
all
T2.
of the wonderful work you do, including
Yes.
the hacking the system. So, we got some podcast awards from some good friends of ours that are up. So go to hat.t2t2.eu. And again, he's the guy that generates it all. And finally, Alpha Geek Radio, thank you so much for letting us be your guinea pigs. We messed up last week, but we got it down this time. So thank you guys so much for all of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yay, yay
Thank
for
you,
sound.
Thank you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
You've been listening to a Blazing Caribou Studios production in conjunction with Diamond Club. If you like this podcast and want to hear more of this, consider supporting the BCS Patreon at blazingcariboustudios.com. A special thanks to Pinto and the Bean for our company theme music. If you want to hear more, head on over to pintoandthebeanmusic.com where you can check out this and other cool tracks.
To sail a ship